What's going on, guys? All right, we got some good news today. Some solid news. Some talk about Usyk and Canelo fighting. I know, a little crazy. We'll talk about it. We got Teofimo Lopez's possible next opponent. We have some good fights going on. Then we have some fight predictions for this weekend. I know, Shrek. I'll get to it. We're going to talk about this. There is a slim possibility, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And there's possibly a rematch, possible rematch of Fight of the Year. And we're going to start with that. So, first and foremost, our boy Inoue gets another good stoppage. Gets another good win. Which, if you know me, I love the monster. I think he's a fantastic talent. But, to not be outdone, his older counterpart and possible new dance partner. It's looking like it's very possible we get a rematch of the best fight of the year, I believe last year, or was it 2019? Donaire gets a fantastic stoppage. Body shot. Brutal body stop. Brutal. Fantastic display by Donaire. The Filipino Flash, although older and not looking the same, still has a lot in the gas tank. And as we know, Donaire is the only man to give serious issue to Inoue and make Inoue stumble back and go backwards. So the fact that there is now conversation between Donaire and Inoue, both of them just won, the timelines kind of match up. They were Fight of the Year, and we might see it again. I personally think if they square up again, we're going to get another fantastic fight. Fantastic fight. Donaire brings that very seasoned veteran, I can adapt. I know what I'm doing, and just great chin on him. Great chin. Inoue brings a style and a class that you just normally don't see. And a kid that hits so hard for that weight class. So, very good possibility we might see a rematch between these two. And if we do, it's must-see TV. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to these weight classes as much. I'm telling you right now, Donaire and Inoue get in the ring again. You stop all your plans. Put everything on the back burner. I don't care what you have planned. Just say to everyone, look, sorry, not happening. I gotta watch this boxing match. And you'll thank me later. You will thank me later. I promise you. They are a fantastic duo in the ring. And the thing is, sometimes you get two guys that they meet each other and they just mesh so well. We've seen this with Chocolatito and Estrada. You Ward, Gotti, classic. But you get sometimes these guys that when they get in the ring together, magic happens. And that's to say, I think what we have with Donaire and Inoue. So, starting with our lightest weight classes and now moving up. We finally heard some news, some interesting news. We don't have a ton of news this week, so we're going to have a lot of more fight prediction conversation, but interesting little lightweight tidbit. And I actually, I give this guy a lot of, I criticize him, but I think this is actually a smart idea. Ryan Garcia wants to fight Isaac Cruz, not Isaac Cruz, but Isaac Cruz. This is not a bad idea. This is not a bad game plan for Ryan Garcia. His hand being broken and then getting back in the ring. you got to be ready. You got to be ready for a guy like Cruz because he's going to come forward and he's going to just nonstop pressure you. Now, we saw Usyk Cruz slow down a little bit in more the mid to later rounds. Not quite the same pressure, but he's going to put you through a gauntlet of just unbelievable pressure. And although his shots are very looping, which is good if you're a guy like Ryan Garcia who has very quick hands, he is relentless. And if you're not ready for that, he's going to be a problem for you, as we saw with Tank Davis. I actually think if you're Ryan, this is a smart idea. And I'll tell you why. You just took the entire year off. Part of it is not bad. Some of it's pretty bad. It's really bad. You were supposed to have an interim or like mandatory spot for the WBC. Then you pulled out of that fight. Jojo Diaz stepped in and won. So technically we could have had Haney versus Garcia this year. And that would have set you up as either possibly a WBC champion, and you and Kambosos could be going for undisputed. That could happen, technically. But I don't know if that would have happened, to be quite frank. And I think that Kambosos is kind of weighing his options. I know that Haney is just purely focused on trying to get that fight. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I think that Jay, what's going on, man? I think they're going to play those games. They're going to kind of, go after what they want. And this is a good fight if you're Ryan Garcia, because then it gives you that classic, well, Tank did this, Ryan did that, especially if you do really well. Usyk Cruz has now a little bit of clout under his name, a little bit of shine. Not a bad idea. He's definitely the big thing you have to remember also is Loma is back, baby. You got to remember, Cruz, especially going to a fight against, Ryan Garcia, is going to be tiny compared to Garcia. Cruz was small compared to Tank Davis. He is going to look very small compared to Ryan Garcia. So the reach is going to be there. That lead left hook, that quick whipping hook that Ryan likes to use is going to be there once he gets his timing. Not a bad, I like to criticize sometimes fighters and who they pick, especially if they're kind of comeback fights or easy touches. This isn't a bad one. This isn't terrible. Not my favorite thing in the world. Won't lie to you about it, but not terrible. So, interesting little tidbit there. As I said earlier, if you're just joining us, we talked about Inoue winning. We talked about Donaire winning. We're talking about a rematch, a fight of the year possibly happening with them. Very, very much could happen. Looking at the other landscape of fighters, now we move up a little bit to 140. And this kind of surprised me about Teofimo Lopez and who he's going to be fighting next. And I was kind of shocked. Kind of shocked by this, but I agree with it. I think it's another solid idea or move. And that is Bobby Boy talks about Teo fighting Pedraza. I think this is probably the smartest fight I've heard proposed for Lopez after a get-back fight. And that's a good idea. That's a good idea if you're Lopez. Not a bad matchup. Wish Ryan did more talking in the ring. I know. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. But think about this. Let's just paint a picture here. Lopez lost, right? So he's got a rebound. He wants to go to 140. There's a couple guys there, but there's some real killers at 140, as we've talked about. Jose Ramirez, killer. You know, Regis Prograis, killer. Josh Taylor. You're not ready for that, kid. You hit hard at lightweight. You don't hit hard for 140 quite yet. So, let's slow roll it. Let's see how it goes. Now, instead of picking someone that might be a light touch, Pedraza actually, I don't know how much you guys have watched him. So he lost to Tank, he lost to Lomachenko, guys that are obviously small lightweights. But when he moved to 140, he actually had some good performances. And it kind of makes you go, wow, this guy can box really, really well. There's certainly no shame in his game. So this is not a bad matchup for Lopez. I think instead of, easy touch being down here, a guy that's in the top 10 that no one's ever heard about, or like barely outside that's kind of here. Pedraza's like kind of here. And then like Regis and them are up here. But not a bad one. And the thing is about this, Pedraza is more a natural size for 140. Well, oh yeah. Zepeda, another problem at 140. There's a minefield at 140, and you got to be careful. So, and the reason I also like this is because there's talk of Josh Taylor moving up. There could be some belts that are loose. 2-weight world champion, possibly, if you're TO trying to line that up. That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I kind of like it, actually. So, it's the most sane thing I've heard about where TO's going to go from where he is right now. It's the most sane thing I've heard. So, if that tells you anything. All right. Let's get up to a man I don't like to talk about too much, but we're going to have to talk about him. And we're going to have a little bit of a long conversation about this guy. Because everyone wants to talk about him. Everyone wants to have a huge conversation about this guy. Make him seem like he's really special. And I don't quite see it. Jay, I agree. That's why if he gets the Pedraza and he does well, I think it's a good showing. Kind of gets him back on the horse a little bit more. All right. Conor Benn. Now, let me preface basically all the arguments I see for Conor Benn. Especially Conor Benn fans. He has no amateur experience, or little to none. So, he's learning on the job. That's how they always put it. Okay. I get what you're saying. He's not someone like a Triple G or Loma or Usyk who has an extensive amateur background or pedigree. I get that. That's okay. But this is where I have a problem. Is you're knocking out tomato cans right now. Chris Algieri is a retired commentary dude who used to be a former boxer. He tried to get to the big time, but never ever made it. He always got knocked down by guys that were better, like Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao. So, Max, what's going on, man? So, it's interesting to me when Conor Benn fans are talking about him in the sense of, they say two things. They say, like I said, they'll say he's learning on the job. At the same time, I see other Conor Benn fans talking about him up there fighting with big names with real belts. And I'm kind of confused by it. Because you can't have both. It's one or the other. Either he's learning on the job and he's not ready, or he's ready. Put him into the fire a little bit more. What tells me where I think he really views himself, this is me reading tea leaves a little bit, but you start to see, he says Ugas and he says Kelbrook. Well, one of them is a current champion. One of them is a very much shot fighter that's done. Then I see this. Conor Benn could be fighting Browne or, Sean Porter. And I'm like, these are polar opposites again. There we go again. Total polar opposites. Browne, who hasn't fought in 3 years and is a joke. Sean Porter, who just lost to Terrence Crawford, but gave Terrence Crawford, who is pound for pound, not just at 147, a pound for pound fighter, a real fight. Okay. That, you can't put them in the same sentence. Like, you shouldn't. Because it's one or the other. And then I see, a few more things coming out as, I want Adrian Browne. There we go. There we go. There's the reality. There's the reality kicking in. You can talk about Ugas. You can talk about Sean Porter. But the truth is, you don't mention even top level guys in the UK. You don't mention even Josh Kelly, who's not even top level even anymore in the UK. You don't mention guys like Ortiz. You don't mention guys like Boots Ennis. You don't mention Maurice Hooker. You don't mention any of these people. Former champions, nope, don't talk about them. You talk about washed up fighters like Khan and Brook and Browne. And that's why when I see people saying, well, he's learning on the job, I will say, okay, I will give you that then. That's fine. If he's learning on the job and he wants to fight former champions, you can do that. But then you can't mention guys like Sean Porter and Ugas, because even though Sean Porter is a former champion, Sean Porter almost just won a belt against Terrence Crawford. And I would say the number one element about Conor Benn that is overhyped. This is a statement that might come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm going to say it right now, is his power. It is overhyped power based off of the individuals he's fighting. And so I have a hard time dealing with people. So Motivedia puts out a poll on YouTube about what happens if Conor Benn fights Adrian Browne. What do you think the outcome is? And it's like, Conor wins by KO. Conor Benn wins by, decision. Adrian Browne wins by KO. Adrian Browne wins by decision. Now, you don't have to like Adrian Browne, but the man's never been stopped. He's never been knocked out, and he's never been stopped. So, let's give the man that. The amount of people, I think it was something like 60% plus, said that Conor Benn's going to stop Adrian Broner. And I'm just like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. It's the one element to his game that I feel like is so overhyped that I have a hard time dealing with some of the people that are big fans of this kid. Now, if you want to kind of paint the picture of Conor Benn as, hey, he's trying to get outside his dad's shadow, he's trying to make his own name, I get that. That's fine. He's learning on the job. He should be fighting guys like the Kell Brook or the Amir Khan or whatever. That's fine. I'm fine with that. So I'm fine if you want to call out former dudes that are washed up. But at the same time, if you're going to do that, I have a really hard time when I see anything talking about guys that would absolutely handle you. Like Ugas. Why is his name coming up? Why is a current champion's name coming up? You're not in that realm. You're not in that realm. You're not there. You're not in that conversation. Get in line. There's way better fighters in this weight class. Don't come out and say things or have conversations or have Eddie especially talk about Broner or Sean Porter. Don't do it. Just don't do it. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Because, like I said, it doesn't make sense. Either it's Adrian Broner or Sean Porter. They're polar opposites. One's a top level, just got beat by possibly one of the best, if not the best welterweight. And the other has been working on his rap career for 3 years. And is, super gun shy. Ultra gun shy. So, I'm getting a little tired of the Conor Benn fans, I would say. Him a little bit. And I would say, if you're going to call people out, and you want to be, conservative about it, Maurice Hooker would love to dance with you. You want to get in line for some of these shots? You want to get in a line for Ugas, for Crawford, for Spence, any one of these guys. That's the shot you want. Guess what? Go fight Virgil Ortiz. Go fight Boots Ennis. And see what happens. Because those guys are going to embarrass you. I saw, Thurman fighting, Barrios. Thurman at this point is kind of a joke. But I'm tired. I'm just so tired of seeing this whole Conor Benn. The hype's there. And, it's one of those things, man. It happens. So, Barrios is no joke. He is no joke, but he should be easy for a guy like Keith Thurman back in the day. Joey, yep, I agree. Absolutely. I mean, there's some good names. Amir Khan or Kell Brook. Those are fantastic names. Hell, fucking Josh Kelly. Whatever happened to Josh Kelly? Throw that kid in the ring. There's plenty of guys out there that you can fight that are even UK level that will get you some good dollars and good experience. But you come over here with that stuff and you're going to get pieced up by some guys. Because you're not there. You're not there. So, my 2 cents. Moving up to light heavyweight. So we have a little bit of Canelo news, a little bit of Canelo talk in general. So we'll see how Beterbiev looks this weekend. He's just very passionate, Shrek. Beterbiev is fighting this weekend. Let's see how he looks. Bivol last weekend looked incredibly vulnerable. He looked like he wants to hold on to a title. He doesn't want to fight for a title. AKA, he just wants to be there and win by points, and he doesn't care anymore. Beterbiev, let's see how he looks. He usually brings it, and I'm going to do a whole breakdown on that. Oh, we're going to get there at 407. We do lightest weight class to heaviest weight class. So we're going to get there. I promise you. I think this fight right here, depending on how Beterbiev looks, is absolutely the fight to make if you're Canelo. I like it better than cruiserweight. I like it better than any other fight he can make. And the reason I like it is because Beterbiev, if he looks pretty decent, is going to give this impression that he cannot be beat. Mind you, he's 16-0 with 16 knockouts. So he's a scary individual. And if Canelo goes in there and outclasses him, that legacy is going to be immense. That's a massive career-building win. Yeah, I know Bob Arum's involved. It always makes me doubt. Yeah, I know. I agree. Bobby boy. But, we'll see what happens. At 168, I forgot this quick note. Really good fight. Slept on fight. Danny Jacobs versus John Ryder. This fight, I love. This is not one of those fights that you're like thinking about or dreaming about. But when you hear it, you're like, hell yes. Hell yes. John Ryder, big fan of John Ryder after what he did, Callum Smith, versus Danny Jacobs, who looked less than impressive against Gabe Rosado. Got gifted. This is a fight that actually, if you were to talk about it beforehand, some people would be like, this is actually a really close fight. This is a very interesting fight. It's the kind of fight that you bring your popcorn to, possibly. Depends on what John Ryder wants to do in it. If Danny Jacobs makes it as boring as he did the Rosado fight, go to bed early. But if John Ryder wants to make it interesting and play ball, start swinging, which he usually does, I'm saying upset. I'm saying John Ryder, quote me right now, could absolutely upset that fight. That's a fun fight overall. Okay. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Usyk said he's willing to fight Canelo at cruiserweight. Now, I had a lot of mixed feelings when I read this headline. Because I'm just like, one, it's not going to work. I like Jacobs too. No, totally like him. Yeah, great guy. Seems like he has, good career. Time to probably hang up the gloves. But Usyk versus Canelo. When I first heard it, I was like, there's just no way in hell. And part of me is like, Usyk, I know, no, Shrek. We're going to have a real talk about it. Just because I think it should be, like, we have to have some fun here, right? We can't always be too serious. Usyk versus Canelo, although sounds funny at first, is kind of a fun fight that we can all have a good chat about. Usyk being heavier now and going back down to cruiser would be interesting. It's losing over 20 pounds. That's not easy to do. So, I'm curious where he walks around. That's kind of my first thing. Does he walk around at like 215? Does he like add a little weight? Canelo, on the other hand, I don't think would ever take this fight in a million years. In a million years, he would not take this fight. And it's because of this. Usyk, compared to most guys at cruiser and at heavy, can dance and he can move. And the thing that Canelo does really well is he finds guys that have poor footwork and he exploits them with body shots, changing angles. He even out jabs them if they're, Smith. And so it doesn't really stack up all that well for Canelo. Because now you're not able to get an angle and take advantage of it the same way you would against most guys in these kind of general weight classes. I think Usyk in this case would absolutely dominate. He has the power, he has the experience, he has the size, he has the footwork. And although I like Canelo, I think Canelo's a fantastic fighter, it just doesn't add up. Like, the math of it doesn't add up when you look at it. Do I want it to? Yeah. It would be amazing. It would be super fun. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is where someone comes in, says, well, Callum Smith was oversized. Callum Smith can't move or do half the things Usyk can. Here's a little bit of Usyk's stats for you in case you forgot. Okay. 70-inch reach. He's, 6'3". He actually has a KO percentage of almost 70%, by the way. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Came in at 221 pounds in his last fight. You could see where he went up from Tony Bellew in these fights right here, where he was like hanging around right around 200 pounds. Came up to the big boy range at around 220. And the thing is, if Usyk moves as well as he does right now, imagine what he's going to look like when he drops back down. Okay? So it's just like, I know the profile pictures are terrible. Canelo is 5'8", 70-inch reach. Also has a similar KO percentage, a little bit less than Usyk actually. And you're talking about a guy that just fought at 168 pounds. So do I think that Canelo is going to fight Usyk or take him up on that offer at cruiserweight? Let's take the size out of it completely. Let's just talk about logistics. Okay? Take the size out of it. Usyk's either going to fight AJ or Fury. That's it. Two options. if somehow AJ takes step aside, he's taking the Fury fight. That's what Fury wants. That's what he wants. If AJ doesn't take step aside, then he's fighting AJ. That's the spring. Fall would be a Fury fight because Fury would fight, hopefully, Dillian White for mandatory. In theory. And then from there, would fight Usyk. So, although I love this idea, and it's a fun little thought experiment, Canelo has to either stay at 168 and deal with mandatories and BS, or he has to move up, which he's looking at cruiserweight. I know it's kind of a joke, but he's looking at it kind of for fun. And he's obviously looking at light heavy. That's spring. If he fights, let's say he fights at light heavy and fights Bivol or Beterbiev, whatever. He's going to fight the opposite one. He's going to fight Bivol and Beterbiev. If you ask me, those are the two fights that make the most sense for Canelo. Because they're belts that I think he could win. And then move up. If he wanted to do a cruiserweight crack, he could do it. So it's not even about size. Like schedule-wise, it doesn't work. It wouldn't happen next year. Even in 2023, you still have issues because Usyk and Fury are going to have to fight each other again. The earliest they would fight is in, twice next year if we're lucky. So I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. And although it's a fun little thought experiment, I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to happen, though. Usyk's more skilled than Canelo. I think you could absolutely have an argument about what happens when Canelo's power is no longer a thing. Would be a good meme, though. Just like this weekend's fights are going to be a good meme. Jared Anderson saying that he's the next great heavyweight. Now, you guys know how I feel about Jared Anderson. Very talented young fighter. Light heavyweight. Great heavyweight. Good size. Natural build. And I think ultimately impeccable fashion sense. So for me, Jared Anderson, I have quite the appreciation for. At one point, I talked about him and Daniel Dubois being the next big heavyweights just across the ocean from each other. And having somewhat similarities. And part of that is their build. Jared Anderson even more so. I know he used Microsoft Paint. It still works out. It's the fact that Jared Anderson's cane points towards me is that what makes the entire photo. Daniel Dubois has had good rounds in terms of doing sparring sessions with Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. There's rumors he knocked down Anthony Joshua. Jared Anderson has been a staple in Tyson Fury's camp in terms of sparring partners. And there's a lot of talk of him beating up on Tyson Fury. Now, if you know me, when it comes to sparring stories, I don't always buy into them, although they can be fun. What I see with Jared Anderson that I like is a guy that's naturally well built, naturally doesn't have to add a lot of bulk to be a good size heavyweight. He's not towering. He's not a 6'6" guy. He's never going to be that. He's 6'3", 6'4" at best. But he's 235 pounds to 240, solid. And he's an athlete. He can move well. He can punch with both hands. He has good power. I think we have something possibly pretty special here. Now, he's had 11 fights, 11 knockouts. It's not a lot of, not a lot there. So, we won't know until he starts taking guys like Cal Snacky and Hellenius and Marius Wack and guys in that, Chris Areola. Once he starts taking those guys out, we'll have a better sense. Which I would say the fact he just co-mained for the Loma fight is big. That's telling me Bob wants to move him up. He wants to move him up. He wants to get him to those next levels. Cal Snacky, obviously being with PBC, probably won't happen. But some of those other guys, I expect to see some former champions in his near future. He's fighting fairly regularly. Kid seems to have a good attitude and a good head on his shoulders. So, blue chip prospect for heavyweight, in my opinion. I also said that about Elvis Rodriguez, and then he lost. But it happens. So, that was kind of a nice little touch point before we move into fight predictions, because we have two good fights to talk about this weekend. Really good fights. We have a fantastic fight, and I think one of these will perform and give you guys some good entertainment. Let me shrink this. There we go. All right. So, fight prediction for Parker versus Chisora 2. Now, there's two kind of people going into this, two kinds of fan bases. One believes that it was a super close fight. You could make it a draw, the first fight, or maybe give a round to either one of them at best. And it could have been a Parker win, or it could have been a Chisora win. Which I would agree with. I'm kind of in, that's where I'm at. Or you're in the other camp, which firmly believe Chisora was absolutely robbed, and he won the fight by 4 rounds. That, I would say, I don't agree with you, and I don't know what you're looking at, because I saw multiple rounds where Chisora could barely land anything, was lunging all over the place, and Parker was just simply outboxing him with a basic jab. So, let's talk about this second fight. What do I think is going to happen? Game plan wise, all that fun stuff. Looking at them side by side, Parker has 2 losses, as we know. One's to AJ, one's to White. Chisora has 11 losses. He's kind of in that journeyman phase of his career, but he's still a mean individual. And if you're going to get in the ring with him, he's going to make things difficult. We saw him make several rounds difficult for Usyk, who just pieced up AJ and made it look so easy. So, a couple stats here. Chisora's 37. Parker is 29. Parker's 6'4". Chisora's 6'2". Reach-wise, not huge difference, but Parker definitely has a little bit more reach. And then KO percentage, neither one of them are big KO guys. Chisora, from what I read, on a separate website, it was more like 50%. Parker was a little bit higher in the 60%. So, these guys come to fight. They're kind of interesting overall. There's obviously a lot more rounds. If you look at the amount of rounds real quick that Chisora has compared to Parker, the one thing that you cannot count out about Derek Chisora is the dude has done a lot of rounds against high quality fighters. Great fighters. He's done a really good job about that. And so he has a lot of experience. So how do I think this fight's going to go between these two? Honestly, it's a question of, do you think Derek Chisora... It's not a question of when, it's if. No, sorry. It's not a question of if, it's when. Is Derek Chisora going to gas out? If Derek Chisora gasses out in the 4th round, basically like he did last time, he's going to have problems again against Parker. Parker, to be fair, did not look good. Like, this shouldn't have been a close fight. This shouldn't be a close fight if you're Joseph Parker when he looks good and he boxes well. So, I want to say off the bat that Chisora's going to get gassed. And that Parker's going to take over and just kind of out-jab him and make it a boring fight. And he'll win. He'll win by decision. But Parker has shown now a track record of the Junior Fa fight, the other Chisora fight, being fairly inactive. And then coming into the ring and not looking great. This fight's going to go one of two ways. The way I would like it to go, I'll tell you afterwards, but I think it's one of two ways. It's either Derek Chisora gets a stoppage and lands something huge early on, within the first 5 rounds or so, or Joseph Parker makes it fairly boring and wins by decision. I think the safe option is Parker wins again by decision. What my heart wants is Derek War Chisora to get the stoppage. And I'll tell you why. Derek Chisora has an incredible resume. He has one of the best heavyweight resumes currently by all active heavyweights. The guy has fought so many top-level guys and champions. Has it gone his way all the time? No. Is he a perfect boxer? No. But the dude has heart. He's super entertaining. He brings it and makes fights so fun to watch. I want to see him get one last big win. And I think he deserves it more than Joseph Parker. Because Joseph Parker, I just get the vibe he doesn't care anymore. And Derek Chisora, I just want to see him get that one last signature big win. And to go out and be like, I did something. I did something huge. Maybe he never does it again. He gets, beaten to a pulp and becomes a journeyman and all that stuff. But he had one last good big fight for him. And that's what I want to say. That's what I want to say. I'm going to be rooting for Derek Chisora because the guy, as much as you might not like him, he is entertaining and he will bring it every single fight that he is in. And even if he's completely outclassed, he's going to bring it. He's going to throw those big looping heavy shots, overhand rights in particular, that are just monstrous. You can see them coming from a mile away, but once in a while, he lands one. And when he lands one, my God, it's awesome. So, I want Derek Chisora to win. Do I think it's what I would put my money on? Probably not, sadly. So, let's move on. This fight. Okay, so now let's talk about Beterbiev and Browne. This fight, I think people are sleeping on a little bit. I think people are sleeping on this fight. Now, if you don't know a lot about Browne, he is the gentleman that gave that fine gash, monster gash to Mr. Badu Jack. And one, because of that giant, huge cut that he gave to Badu Jack. Ironically, right after that, he fights Jean Pascal and was winning the fight even though Jean Pascal knocked him down. The only reason he wasn't 100% winning this fight is because Jean Pascal knocked him down 3 times. Pascal knocks him down 3 times, and suddenly this fight's a real fight. He gets headbutt brutally, or their heads clash, I should say. And he can no longer continue, and Jean Pascal takes the fight. Little fun fact there. So he's a guy that's fought some top level guys that I really like. I like Jean Pascal. I think he's a fun guy to watch. I think Badu Jack, obviously, this channel's a fan of Jean Pascal as well as Badu Jack. So these guys fighting, let's look at some stats. The one loss, like I said, the one loss is because of a head clash, which he should have won that fight. So, 36 years old, 31. Browne is the younger man here. And as we all know, Father Time, he eventually will beat you. Browne is 6'2". Arthur is 6 feet tall. Beterbiev being 6 feet tall compared to this is a big deal. Probably not a huge deal, but the reach advantage here, that could play a good, significant role here. So the big thing here is the KO percentage. The KO percentage between these two is pretty big. And Beterbiev having 100% KO percentage makes him extremely dangerous when he fights. Blackout, I agree. I mean, I think actually if he loses, he's a better candidate. Proves even more that Canelo's ready to fight him because Father Time's taken over a little bit with him being 36. But still, I mean, he has to win. He has to win. Even if he doesn't get the KO, if he wins, even more of a reason. So, this fight, I know on some people are like, oh, this isn't a big fight. This is a great fight. This is going to be a fight. I can guarantee you. Because the thing that people always forget is that Beterbiev has been knocked down by lesser opponents. Now, they weren't brutal knockdowns like he seems dazed or really buzzed or anything. They've been more flash knockdowns. But he's been knocked down. And Browne has been knocked down. So both guys let their hands go. And I think that's what makes it so fun. This fight's going to be Friday night, and we're going to be watching it. So I think that this is a slept-on fight, and this could be a big deal because if Browne wins or Beterbiev wins, however you want to pronounce it, I think they could be in the running to fight Canelo. You know? There's a chance there. His power's okay, Shrek. I mean, I think it's closer to 60%. This is inaccurate. So he's not a big knockout guy. But Beterbiev has been knocked down. Dana, yeah. So I know Jean Pascal definitely has he has the history with PEDs, obviously, but it was obvious that he won because of the headbutt, or I should say, the head clash. So, and this is a no joke. Browne is being trained, by the way, by the same trainer that trains Spence. So, He has a great corner. He has a good pedigree against solid fighters. His only real loss is because of a headbutt or a head clash. You could argue that he would have lost maybe to Badu Jack if it was reversed and the head clash didn't happen. But regardless, the guy has basically, if you ask me, a possible 24-0, 24-1 resume against a 16-0 resume. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at basically two fighters that are pretty damn close to being completely undefeated in this fight. And Browne, I know people are going to completely write him off. Let me just point out again, real quick. 36 years old into a 31-year-old. That doesn't sound like a lot for some people. That doesn't sound like a huge deal for some people. As someone that's in their mid-30s, let me tell you, the way you feel when you're 31 compared to the way you feel when you're 36, it's a big deal. It's a difference. The way you feel in your early 30s to your mid-30s is certainly a bigger deal than most people would think it would be. So, don't sleep on it. Yes, Shrek, exactly. This is gonna be a good fight. And I think we're going to see someone get knocked down and possible stoppages by either guy. So, even though, yeah, Browne doesn't have the highest amount of KOs, but he has some reach advantage here. And who knows? Like I said, Beterbiev has been hit. He's been knocked down by lesser opponents, by significantly lesser opponents. So this is actually a good fight. I'm actually pretty happy with this fight. So with that said, these are the two fights I'm excited about basically this weekend. Anyone else have anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of news? These are the things I saw. Donaire and Inoue possibly having a rematch. Looking like Teo might fight Pedraza. Usyk saying he'd fight Canelo at cruiserweight. All that fun stuff. You know? Yes, we did. We talked about Cruz and Ryan Garcia rumors. We definitely talk about that. To expand upon that, I think it's a great fight for Ryan Garcia. It's a fantastic fight for Ryan Garcia. And the reason I like that is because Cruz right now has a good name on him. He's undersized for the weight class. So for Ryan to go in there and have a situation where he can show people like, who do you think would win, me or Tank Davis? Especially if he does well. I like that a lot. That to me is a smart business move. So I'm a fan of it. Uh-oh, breaking news here. Breaking news. Yeah, good payday for Cruz. I mean, Cruz can't ride it out forever. He's just not that big for that weight class, and he fought someone that's definitely not that weight class size. So, even better. Little breaking news here. Just saw this, and I think it's amazing. Here we go. Here we go. More Conor Benn. They love a good Conor Benn story. Imagine saying Danny Garcia or Mikey Garcia are your backup plan if you can't get a Browne fight. Now, both Garcias haven't been great lately. Mikey especially. But if you're going to go after someone, Mikey's the one to go after in particular. Because Danny, although he got beat by Spence pretty well, Mikey clearly showed a lot of ring rust. So, I don't hate that idea. Like, it's kind of one of those, like, that's better. Better idea of maybe who you should look at. You know? I mean, there's other guys I think that Ben should focus on, but better than Khan or any of those other guys. Yeah, Blackout, I agree, man. Yeah, Mikey going to welter was a huge mistake. I mean, there's plenty. Danny Garcia, I think, has talked about going up to 154 pounds. His head's not in the game. Ryan, Danny, and Mikey. Exactly, Jay. So, here's a fun little tidbit, by the way. Also breaking news while we're at it. Oh. I'll go into this article a little bit more because this is fun. Let's see what Derek Chisora. If it's a Derek Chisora article, I have to basically click on it. Like, if it's Derek Chisora, I have to click on it pretty much because it's mandatory. Let me give you guys a little more slice, and then I'll zoom it in. I'm very curious what Derek has to say. I know. Boxing News 24 is not the best resource ever. They are just great for quick little headlines. So, about being fouled about Tyson Fury, I will say this. Tyson Fury has a very dirty way of fighting. And I would say that if you're gonna say if anyone fights really dirty in the heavyweight division, Tyson Fury has a tendency to do that. And so, I would say this is a very accurate thing to say. It's a little late to complain. So, we were talking about Derek Chisora against Joseph Parker. Blackout. My general thoughts are... Sorry, wrong button. My general thoughts are... I think Joseph Parker won the first fight by the skin of his teeth. It wasn't a super lopsided fight, but it wasn't... I mean, I definitely didn't have Derek Chisora winning. I saw some people saying Derek Chisora won by 4 rounds. I don't see that. Although I think that Parker can make it boring and an easy win by just boxing, because Chisora's going to gas out, like we all know, in like the 4th round. I do want Chisora to win, to have that one last big win, and so he can just stop fighting if he wants to, or become a journeyman, or, if he wants to do that, that's fine. But, out of all the people... Joseph Parker, who's 29 years old, could care less about boxing. He does not care at all. And I would love Chisora just to win one more time. So, do I think he's going to? I'll put my money on Parker winning by decision again. But I would like Derek Chisora to win. Just kind of as a... Attaboy, there you go. Nice job. You got one more. Nothing too crazy. Chisora won by 100 rounds. Too expensive for a journeyman. We'll see what he takes afterwards. Expensive now, yes. They should be doing a deal, Jay. But it's all about whether or not, obviously, if AJ takes step aside or not. Because if AJ doesn't take step aside, then it should be White versus Fury. I like Parker and I dislike Parker. I like Parker if I wanted to go out for a beer. I dislike him as a boxer. That makes sense to anyone. Chisora Dubois, love that idea. It's a good idea. Hell, I wouldn't even mind seeing Chisora versus Joe Joyce. Probably would pick Joe Joyce, but still it'd be a fun, interesting fight for at least a couple rounds. You know? Yeah, Parker's not interested. He's just not interested in boxing. Is what I get from him. That's the vibe I get from him. He's there, he's got some good money. And he's just kind of like, I'm done. I'm just kind of gonna coast a little bit and not fight anyone I really should fight. And just do my thing. That's the thing I don't like about him, but I to a certain degree I understand it, If I was him, I would kind of do the same thing, but yep. Browne stage of his career. Yep, exactly. That's it, Jay. Pretty much to a T. Cuz it's like he should be caring. Because of the kids. Yeah, kind of like that. A little less serious than that, but he's just kind of there. And he wants to fight, but he doesn't want to fight. I did not need to know that, Shrek. That's like the last thing I needed to know. Now, obviously, on top of all this wonderful fighting, we have Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. I'll give you guys some thoughts on that. So Jake Paul versus Tyron. I think that Tyron Woodley will pretty much be the same he was last time. Maybe he has a little bit more pep in his step. Maybe tries when he gets him hurt a little bit more. Maybe. But I could see Jake Paul winning again. Because Tyron just gave up rounds like they were Tic Tacs. Just like gave them up like they're Tic Tacs. Like, here you go. You keep them. They're free, basically. And you just can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do it. And I will say I'm extremely disappointed in Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury, my goodness. So disappointed in him. I mean, he had it. He had this money in the bank. And he's just let it go. He could have been a contender. And he could have wore the exact same shorts as Ali Walsh, who gets them from his great-grandfather's collection through Everlast. It's, I just Am I going to stream it? By the way, if anyone wants to try something really quick, Shrek, you want to try something really quick? Try typing in the chat, link or links, into the chat and see what happens, Shrek. Got a little surprise. $500,000 is a lot. $500,000 is a lot of an incentive. Because I know people this weekend are going to be really annoying because it's Jake Paul fans. I did something. Let's see if it'll work for me. Even if I do it. Let's see. Oh, it does it for me. Maybe it won't do it if someone else does it. But I basically banned a couple words to see what it would do. Hoping that people get so frustrated and they don't know how Twitch works, they just leave. That's the general idea. So, from the Philippines, damn, son. Jake Paul is not banned. You can say the word Jake Paul. But if you say link, it won't ban you, it just won't show up. I'm trying to see if that would work. And maybe just discourage some people. Because then it will make things a lot easier. Oh, dude, it gets insane. It gets insane. With my last Jake Paul fight, we got 30,000 viewers at one point. That stopped by in different portions. Oh, maybe if you don't have the question mark, I have to rule that out now too. Damn. I forgot to put the question mark. So I'll have to do that now. But that's the general idea. If I can ban some of the phrases, maybe it'll make it easier. Or you have to do that. But I don't think anyone's going to be smart enough to do that, Shrek. So, nah, man, I don't say stuff for people. So, let's see. Oh, I have to reset it. Link. That. Links. Now you've given me all the way to do it. Okay, try it now. Try it now. Oh, you added 3 question marks. I do double. I'll do triple. Every time, Shrek, you're one step ahead. You're one step ahead. So, try it now. I think I got it. I think I got it basically covered. Well, remember, Shrek, you have my Trovo channel. I just did 5 question marks and it still allowed it. Damn. Maybe it's because you're a mod. Never mind. Might be because you're a mod. So, anyways, that's what we got this week for news. We got some good fights to watch on Friday. We're going to be watching that Beterbiev versus Browne fight. And then obviously we got Jake Paul. Chisora Parker, I think I'll have on. I don't know if I'm going to be there. I might do a stream during that as well. Because why not if I can. But, that's what I'm thinking for this weekend. Oh, that auto does it. And as you saw, Shrek, probably all too well, from Hassan and from, Vosh, even me saying certain things. Guaranteed. So, with that said, thank you guys. We'll be live on Friday, like I said, for the Beterbiev and for the Browne fight. And then we'll be live maybe twice on Saturday for the UK fights. And then for, Jake Paul, Tyrone Woodley. Let's see what happens. Winner takes all. Big tattoos. So, see you guys later.